Dr. Driver, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm so great. Thank you so much for making time to meet with me today.
Thank you.
Great. So let's kick it off with, how was your day?
It's good. It's been busy.
Good. A lot of patients?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm Keith Jones. I'm a wellness coach here at the Mayo Clinic, and this is Dr. Erica Driver-Dunckley. So, Dr. Driver, can you introduce yourself and your title here at Mayo?
So I'm a neurologist here at Mayo Clinic, and I am the residency program director and the fellowship director of my department.
Great. So what are your duties? Like in the course of a day, what will you normally do?
So my duties range from seeing patients, doing research studies, educating the residents, doing a lot of administrative work for the residents.
Well, I had the opportunity to kind of do some behind the scenes like research on what you do here at Mayo. And I was blown away with all the things you do in regards to neurology and with Parkinson's. So you can talk a little bit about some of that you do specifically?
Some of the research that I do?
Yes, because it's fascinating.
Oh, well, so I do lots of different research here at Mayo Clinic. I work with my colleagues in movement disorders. We have a brain bank in Sun City, so we go out there and we see patients. We do exams, and then we do all sorts of various studies.
Good.
Trying to find out how to figure out the true cause of Parkinson's, and then hopefully someday cure Parkinson's.
I love it. So is that what helps you stay as committed and passionate about the research, is in search of that cure?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, what I know about you so far is what people told me before I met you, and it was confirmed after I had my first sit-down meeting with you. So here's what I was told. They said, Keith, you've got to interview her. You have to talk to her. And they said, she is unbelievable. She's a fantastic physician. She's super smart. She is an athlete. She's also super health conscious. And she makes it a family affair. Like her whole family is on board as well. So I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit, about that. Because when I met you, I felt this incredible positive energy as soon as I walked into the room. And then you lit up when I started talking to you about your commitment to health. So how did you get on that path? Was it something that started from childhood, or you just kind of grew into it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that when I was a child, my parents were fairly healthy, and then I was into sports when I was a kid. I ran in track when I was in high school, and then when you go off to college, I wasn't good enough to be, I wasn't on any sort of scholarship for sports. But you realize if you're going to stay in shape, you have to do something. So then I just got in the habit of, I'm going to start exercising every morning. So I would run every morning before my 7 a.m. classes. And then as life went on, that just became my thing. I had to do my running or my workouts every morning as early as I could before class.
What's interesting about that is when I went off to college myself, I had the benefit of the Marine Corps. So a lot of that training was kind of involuntary. So, but you had the internal fortitude, commitment to do it on your own. And most people, when they get to college, they feel like they're too busy to do it. So why didn't that happen with you?
I think because I knew the importance of it, and it actually makes you feel really good. And I'm competitive. So I felt that then when I was in college, I actually got into, I want to do a 5K or a 10K. And those were my challenges that then I wanted to meet.
Something that I heard you say too was that you did it before classes started,
Yes.
as opposed to after. Why'd you make that choice?
Because I like to get it done, and then you can shower and go to school, and then you have fun the rest of the day or whatever else you have to do. And I feel like if you wait too long, there will always be an excuse. Because you're like,
totally
I have
agree.
to study, I have to go make dinner, or I have plans with friends. So I got it done.
I love that. And, that really impacted your ability to focus better at school. You mentioned an improved mood, but how did it help you in terms of the studies?
I think it really helps. I think overall, it increases your energy when you exercise in the morning. I don't know how you feel like when you get out of bed in the morning, you're pretty tired.
Right.
And if you don't do anything and you just roll out of bed and go to work, I think you're just sort of all day. Versus if you get up and you go do something, it really energizes you. So then you come into work, you're like, I've already ran 10 miles, already had my breakfast, I'm ready to go.
I'm the same way. I tell people I said, if you ever want me to do something, tell me to do it in the morning, because after my workout, the next 4 hours after my workout, I'm on fire. You know, I mean, there's nothing I can't do. And I feel like if I get nothing else done, there are 2 things that I've done by 7 a.m. I've made my bed, which is super important to me, and I've worked out. So everything else for the day is a bonus. You feel the same way?
Exactly. I feel that way, yes.
Now, you know, I mentioned the family affair. How did you get your family on board? You know, I know your husband is like an incredible cyclist. I mean, he's a beast on the bike from what I hear. And I've read a couple of things about him when I did a little bit more research. And so he places really high whenever he competes. So you bring this union together, and you have, how many children do you have?
I have 4.
All on the health train. So how did you make that happen? Because a lot of parents don't think that, you know, you can do that.
Well, so when I met him, he was already a cyclist. I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
But in high school, he was also an athlete. And so he felt the same way. When he went to college, he was going to continue exercising, and he loves biking. So, of course, he made time for that while I made time for running. And then what was funny is I bought a bike because he was into biking. So then I started doing bike races because of him. He's not really that into running because it hurts his knees.
Right.
So he just runs a little bit. He mainly bikes. But anyway, so we had that in common, that we both were competitive. We both liked to exercise. So we had that, and then as we became parents, why wouldn't we do that with our kids?
Exactly.
So we had the hitch on the back of the bike. So when they were too young to actually walk, crawl, you know, you can put them back there, you can push them in a running stroller. And then as they got old enough, we were out hiking, or we go out walking with them. And kids, I think maybe they're a little naturally competitive.
Right.
At least my kids are, because then they were trying to beat one another. And then they wanted to beat us. And now they can beat me. They can't beat him, but they now run circles around me.
Well, I love it because, I mean, from day one, you know, it was non-negotiable that you guys were going to raise your kids this way. And so now it's part of who they are. And so they don't know any difference.
No, not at all.
You know, one of the things you mentioned too was that you and your family hit the track often. So share a little bit about, you know, a track day for the Driver-Dunckley family.
So, I mean, I still love track. I love that my kids are running track at school, and I think there's nothing better than that energy and what you feel when you're out there on the track. And so from a young age, we've taken them out to the track to run, and kids are naturally, they can run. And so they got very used to what a 400 is, an 800 or a mile. And so we have varying track meets that we do, from maybe more sprinter runs to the long distance runs. And it used to be that, you know, we were beating them, and they were always wanting to try hard because they want to beat us. And now they're like, Mom, you're so slow. Now they just, as you get older, like you can still be in shape. It's hard to run a 5 or 6 minute mile at my age.
Mine too.
And it's great to see them each year, like they're getting faster and faster. And it's just amazing.
Right. And they love it.
And they totally love it.
And so it's not like pulling teeth, or you don't have to threaten them. None of that. I mean, it's like it's in them.
I think so, yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean,
and how do you, like, a lot of parents have to like battle between, you know, wanting the kids to be healthy when it comes to exercise and nutrition, against all the kind of distractions like social media and video games. So your family is really a priority to take care of self-care.
Yes. They still play video games.
Right.
They still play on their phones. But every day, they definitely get their exercise. And then the other part, I think, is when you start kids really young with eating vegetables.
Right.
We told our kids when they were 2 years old, like, this is what you eat. If you don't want to eat it, then just don't eat. And that's what our pediatrician told us. Like, if they're hungry enough, they're going to eat. So we never bargained with them and said, oh no, well, okay, you can have the fruit or something sweet. We're like, no, you're going to eat broccoli, and if you don't want it, too bad.
So there was no side deals.
They eat more vegetables than I think anybody I know.
Well,
Unbelievable.
Well, you know, I'm starting to increase my ranking on the vegetable train, thanks to you and your, you know, inspiring me to really, really consider vegan. And so I've committed myself to that. Before that, I was very healthy. I maybe, as I mentioned to you before off camera, that I eat fish maybe once or twice a month. Well, I met you 2 months ago, so I'm all in. I'm watching you, and I'm seeing how you light up and show up at your best for your patients. to see you interact with your family, I want some of that. And so whatever your formula is, you know, I am signed up for it. You mentioned your vegetables, so tell me about your nutrition.
So we're vegan. If you want to know what we eat every day, or like what?
Yeah, I think an example of like, you know, what a meal in the life of your family would be like would be great.
So a typical breakfast this morning was yogurt with all fresh berries, and then I add walnuts, and maybe a little granola.
Okay.
And then otherwise, maybe they have cereal, and we drink almond or soy milk with it. Oatmeal for breakfast, and then their lunches, they get peanut butter and jelly, they're kids.
Right.
But then they might have pretzels or vegetables with that. And then dinner is all about beans, grains, and vegetables.
I love it.
And my kids love beans, you know, and grains.
So a lot of parents that I've talked to, you know, in my work here at Mayo Clinic and what I've done a lot of my career, they kind of struggle. They're like, well, kids need to be kids. They need to have this and they need to have that. How have you, not to come to where you're a doctor? So I think that certainly helps, but not, listen to the story. I think a lot of it's fictional. That kids have to have, ice cream and cake all the time, or that if you make them eat a vegan or vegetarian diet, that it's going to impact their growth or it's going to... Tell me about that. Tell me about how this hasn't hurt your children in any way.
So first thing I should comment, when I said yogurt, I don't clarify, because to us, we just eat what we eat. It's coconut milk yogurt.
Right, so it's
so
not,
just,
so it's
I
not
don't
dairy.
go around
So it's
telling
not dairy.
people I eat vegan yogurt or vegan milk, because
it's coconut,
we eat yogurt. It just happens to be coconut yogurt.
I like it.
So that's why I'm not clarifying the terms when I might say milk or yogurt.
Right.
But anyways, so I think what's really important with your kids is you also don't want to be extremely restrictive, because kids are going to rebel, and so if you never let them have fun, that's going to be a problem. So when our kids do go places, if they're at a party, their friends' parties, and like a birthday party, and yes, there may be cake or ice cream, it's their choice. They can do what they want. I'm not the vegan police coming after them saying, you better not eat that. If they want to do it, they'll do it. Typically, they might have a piece of cake. They're not going to eat the ice cream, but they might have a piece of that cake. I'm fine with that.
Right, absolutely.
Nobody's perfect.
Right.
They need to enjoy life. Let them have a piece of cake. But what has happened that's sort of similar to your question is that now that everybody knows my kids are vegan, they've been vegan for so long, and they're involved in sports at their school, that it comes out, like their coaches have commented to my high school daughter that, oh, you're vegan, you're getting a stress fracture, where are you getting your protein, you have anemia problems, and have come after her because of that. And yet she's the only kid on the team, I should say the only girl on the team who's never had shin splints, who's never had a stress fracture, who's never had a problem, and qualified for state out of her team.
Interesting.
And she's labeled as ooh, you're the vegan.
Interesting.
And yet she's had no health problems whatsoever.
Yeah, if I'm the coach, I'm like, I'm giving you and your husband a call, listen, can you send over a meal plan? I mean, literally, because if you can keep all your athletes on the track, that's exactly what you want, and healthy. So this is going to go to our next question. My next question is like I said, when I see you, and I've seen you professionally, and I've had the opportunity to spend some time with you on a personal level in your family, and you are just incredible, positive energy, you exude it, and I know a lot of that comes from the exercise, nutrition. What are some of the other daily rituals that you do so that you show up as your best, both professionally and personally?
So one of the things we do was, I read a book several years ago. It's called 1,000 Blessings, I believe. It's by an author, last name is Voskamp.
Oh, this will be in the show notes. Okay.
So she wrote this great book talking about, she'd been through a lot of hardships or tribulations, and about the 1,000 blessings that she had during that time, and she made mention of, having a blessing or a gratitude journal. So I think this was about 5 years ago that I read this book, and I instantly then said, we need to do this in our house. So we created a blessing journal. Wow. And it sits out on the kitchen counter so that we're always in the kitchen, because you come there at least for several meals a day. that we each write something you're thankful for or grateful for that day. So we've been doing that for years, so now we've collected, we have like multiple journals. So it's funny, sometimes we'll pull out a journal from a couple years ago, we play a game where you read off, and then we try to guess like who wrote what.
I love this though.
But what I've noticed about it now over all these years and just looking at patterns was that some days you could write 20 things, and then other days you realize it's really hard to write one thing.
Right.
But during that, like knowing that I have to write something positive that day
Yes.
really helps you shift your mind to think, I gotta find something positive about today.
It helps you look forward.
Yes, and I feel like doing that for my kids
Yes.
is helping them reshape how they think, that
Absolutely.
at least find something positive about today that
Absolutely.
you can write down.
I love it.
And so I think that has really helped them too to have a little bit more of a positive attitude.
I totally agree. You know, I do this gratitude exercise that one of my friends introduced me to a few years ago to really help me stay out of, you know, obsessive thinking or being or worry or anxiousness or feeling down and depressed. And, you know, so at night before I go to bed, I take my hand, I touch my thumb to each one of my fingers. And when I do that, I think about the things that I'm grateful for. And so 2 of the things that are going to make my list today are a podcast with you and also with my friend Randy, who's here helping us shoot this today, and with his expertise. And so those are things that I'm grateful for today. And I try to make them something different every single day. But once you do that enough, you know, having to struggle to look for them, you just start to notice all of it, you know. If the temperature is not 120, like, that's a gift here in Arizona, you know. And so those are some great things. And I think this example, I mean, you and your husband are purposeful in the example that you are, you know, leaving for your children, aren't you? I mean, that's not by accident, is it?
I don't think so.
You guys are doing a fantastic job. I mean, a really job. So we talked about how it helps you, your daily rituals help you be better in your personal life. How does it make you a better doctor?
All those rituals we talked about, everything.
Yeah, just
I mean,
or collectively.
I mean, I think it helps me be a better doctor because I'm setting a good example for my patients, because so much of the discussion I have with my patients is their health.
Yes.
And so I think I would be a hypocrite if I was smoking and obese and trying to tell them, well, these are the things that are important you need to do every day, and I wasn't doing them.
Right.
So I feel like I'm a very, really good role model for them.
I agree.
And a lot of the studies now show for Parkinson's disease, one of the best things you can do is actually exercise every day. So I have this conversation every day with my patients because they're asking me, what can I do to help my Parkinson's? And in addition to the medications we prescribe, I can actually say, exercise is the best thing you can do. And here are some things you can do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can totally see how that would make a difference for me in seeing my doctor, to know that the advice that they were giving me, that they were actually following it. They were living it. They were living it. So what are some things in events that have challenged you before or would have challenged you now if you hadn't been taking care of yourself, practicing self-care with the daily rituals? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I would think, I mean, a lot of people my age, like you're middle-aged, there's a lot of depression, a lot of midlife crisis, a lot of I can't get anything done, and I just feel like I have so much energy that I'm living the life and doing all the things that I want to do, that I see a lot of my friends who might be overweight and just they don't feel good. They're too tired to do anything. They lay around on the couch a lot, and they don't do things with their kids because they're so tired. And I would just feel awful, I think, if I wasn't as active and energetic as I am.
You know, I can totally see that with your family. Just going back to my childhood, my parents weren't active. I mean, they were super loving. They taught me. My mom taught me a really, really great work ethic. Taught me to serve others and to really try to be my best. She wasn't active, you know. There wasn't there was no one in my life to model good healthy behavior or healthy self-care. And so I know what that would have certainly meant to me. And just knowing your family now, you all have a ton of fun. I mean, like adventures and travel and river rafting and all other kinds of sports that you guys do. It's like what I see in your family, like you can have this most amazing family, but when the parents take care of themselves and they also inspire the children to do the same, there's this, it's not better, but there's this new dimension that opens up for the family to connect. And I see that happening with your family. Like, I just want to commend and acknowledge you and Travis for making that happen. Like, seriously, that's incredible. So I got one last question for you.
Okay.
And my question is what do you want your legacy to be?
So I mean, I want my legacy to be my kids, and that they've sort of taken away something from how we've raised them, and mainly just for them to be kind.
Wow.
That's what I want.
To be kind.
Be kind to everyone and all beings.
I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Driver-Dunckley, thank you so much for this conversation today. Thank you for inspiring me. Like I said, I've taken my nutrition to the next level thanks to you, and I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.